I own these streets.
I don't actually know how to start this. I have been following this game for the past couple of months when I heard about it. There's quite a lot to talk about when it comes to Samson, and if the mixed review score on Steam is anything to go by, yeah, there are some problems, but none which are game-breaking, although I'd be lying if I said there weren't any bugs that are annoying to deal with, and a couple mechanics working as intended but causing issues, which is always fun. But first let's start talking about what Samson is. It's a roguelike brawler people are comparing to GTA, and it's a little unfair to compare it to that. Yes, there's crime you can commit, but the crimes are surprisingly limited, and the police in the game are very picky with when they want to get involved. Beat up a group of guys as they're patrolling while on a job? No problem. Randomly cruising and lightly tap their car or someone else's car? You've got a chase on your hands. So I guess it reflects real life accurately. I'll be honest, when I first heard it was a roguelite, I almost lost all interest in it. Roguelites just don't appeal to me that much, and I get why people like them, but they're not for me. Except when the devs explained in a dev diary what the roguelite element is, I decided to give it a shot. In Samson, the whole idea is you have a debt that needs paying off, and every day you have an amount that needs to be paid, otherwise you'll get debt collectors visiting you, even if you're short by $10. If you get knocked out and you can't retry a job or while you're out and about, you'll lose the money you're holding on to. That's about the extent of the roguelike element. I didn't check to see what happens if I get knocked out by the debt collectors, so I'm not sure if the game literally ends at that point and I have to restart, but I failed to pay for 2 days. I never got knocked out or died when I had the debt around, but after I paid it off and was holding on to $15,000, that's when I experienced true despair. I was running around just enjoying the environmental design only to have the police lightly tap me with their car, knocking me out. I wasn't on a job at the time so I couldn't reset it. I lost all my money because the police knocked me out with their cruiser. They literally mugged me. Only I could have something like this happen when I've done everything right. Having to make sure I get $3,000 every day, barely making it, no problem. Never ran into a situation where I was about to die or anything. Once I'd paid it all off and made money for myself, that's when the game decided to teach me a lesson. Always stay in debt, otherwise the law will come after you. Literally. The debt is related to the story, but the story itself is generic. I'm not expecting something crazy and deep. At the end of the day, you're playing as a guy who owes people money because of a job he fucked up a couple years ago, and his sister made a deal with those gang members so you wouldn't get shanked while serving time in prison. As a free man, you go back to your hometown of Tindleston, basically Detroit, but scaled down, industrial, on the verge of collapse and depressing, so it could be my hometown as well when I think about it. Samson has to do whatever job he can to make money and pay off his debt, not just because debt collectors will come after him, but his sister is held as collateral by the gang she made the deal with. And even though interactions between Samson and his sister are done over the phone, I do get the feeling they're actually family and have history, instead of it being robotic or uninterested voice acting, so that's a plus. Just wish the actual story had more going for it, or more interactions between him and his sister. That's not all though. As Tindleston is his hometown, he meets up with old friends and the gang Samson belonged to. They don't have a name, but always meet up in a bar called the Double Tap. I'm not going to go into detail about the 3 friends because they're bland as fuck. Only thing of note is Carter, and that's because he gives Samson jobs he can pick to make money and help progress the story. Technically there are 2 plots, Samson's debt and a drug problem in the city, but neither of them are anything but generic. That's about it. Personally, I wouldn't focus too much on the story, as it feels more a game to get vibes from instead of a compelling narrative, and man did it get the vibes down. I love the feeling the game gives. Everywhere you go in Tindleston, you notice how run down the place is, and that it's a city that's gave up on itself. You see addicts everywhere you go. Pretty sure prostitutes make up 90% of the NPCs if the voice lines are anything to go by. There are other gang members just hanging out as well, although they don't get into fights unless you steal the duffel bag full of money they have sitting on the ground in front of them. It's like they're bored and wanted to get stolen so they have a reason to get into a fight. This isn't the vibe I'm talking about though, it's just the atmosphere. There are 3 different times of day that you experience: noon, evening, and night. Noon and evening aren't anything special for me, although night is where the atmosphere shines. The streetlights giving the old and warm orange lighting instead of the new and brighter white lights I'm sure everyone sees on a regular basis now, either in games and real life. This gives the feeling of the city being old. The warmer lighting also complements the theme of the game. Just think of any show set in a small town or rundown city, the orange street lamps are always there to give the feeling of crime being present for some reason, even though it's been proven warmer lighting makes people calmer. Because it's not so bright, it shows you that Tindleston isn't a great place to be in, but the warmer lighting still reminds you of a homely feeling. It's difficult for me to properly describe it, but I prefer the warmer lighting from the street lamps, both in-game and real life, so it could be that it just speaks to me. But it made me realize that playing the game at night is the best, and it wouldn't surprise me if there's a mod that locks the time of day you can play in. Let's talk about what you'll be doing for almost the entire game. I said this is a brawler and tried to convince me otherwise when for the majority of it you're in a fist fight with someone. It's lacking. There aren't many movesets. You have a light attack, heavy attack, a grab, and you can pick up things to use as weapons which break after a few swings, or you can throw them, instantly stunning whoever it makes contact with. It made me laugh when I threw a brick at someone and they fell over with an audible thud. The problem is, the majority of the time you'll just be light attack spamming until they're staggered or dead, and being staggered just means you get a free hit in. I tended to finish it off with a heavy, but the game decided it doesn't want to let you have that satisfaction. You're not in a one-on-one when in fights. It tends to be you versus 2, 3, or even 4 and above at times. So you'll get hit by someone that's usually behind you and you can't see, stopping you from getting that hit in, or because you have so many enemies around you, Samson randomly goes to hit someone else instead. It doesn't need a lock-on, but you'd think if you did 5 hits on one guy the game would realize you're focusing on someone, but apparently not. This wouldn't be so annoying to deal with if dodging and parrying were handled better. Let's get dodging out the way first. It's a sidestep Samson can do, and allows you to go back in for a hit with a heavy, which sometimes you're cancelled out of because you likely sidestepped into someone else, although sometimes I use it to get distance and exit tight spaces. Then there's parrying or evading, or whatever they decided to call it. The timing is weird and inconsistent. I tested this on the same type of enemy for the same wind up they do, got different results for each of them, and I have no idea why that's the case. I did check to make sure I had enough adrenaline to perform it, but seeing as the requirement is so low, it really makes you think why have it? It doesn't use up a fifth of the meter, it's literally a pixel, so kinda pointless really. Speaking of adrenaline, this is a meter that is built up in combat with every hit you do. Max it out and you can go into a rage mode, dealing even more damage and having bigger enemies getting knocked out by Samson's light attacks before they get staggered. I barely used it, not because it's useless, but the skill points I invested in benefit from having it maxed out and not using it. Being 100% with you, you can probably go through the whole game without using the skill points. It's not that they're useless, it's just the game isn't hard enough to force you into investing in them or even going for a specific build. I beat the game without getting knocked out until after I cleared my debt and finished the story, and my skill points were all over the place until the last couple chapters where I took the time to properly read them and build around them. I really feel they should be better and have more impact. The only ones to focus on are the vehicle upgrades, as these actually have noticeable differences. To start off with, the vehicle variety is really lacking. You have what I believe is a Ford Granada, a Buick of some sort, a BMW E30, Ford Mondeo, and Samson's Camaro. There are a couple modified cars, but they're just sporty versions of the E30 and Mondeo, and by sporty I mean the wheels are different and they have a spoiler. So while the game gives the feel of 80s to 90s industrial America, it has hit the nail on the head with what we thought was sporty back in the early 2000s. And now really. I didn't like driving initially. The handling is all over the place until I realized I'm trying to take a tight corner at 80 miles per hour. This is probably the first game I've played where the car speed actually means something. Seriously. You play any racing game and you can see your cars go insanely fast and you can take a corner like it's nothing, making you wonder why the speedometer's even there. In Samson, it actually serves a purpose. To show you your speed. Over 2 decades of playing racing games and I'm finally experiencing the need to go on the brakes to take corners. Once I got the hang of the driving mechanics, I started to enjoy it more. The adrenaline meter is also available while driving because you can go into a road rage. I can't think of anything better to call it. Activating it literally has Samson hitting the horn multiple times while yelling. This gives your car a damage boost. Why would it need that? There's vehicle combat, which consists of ramming into someone's car or sideswiping them. Some of the jobs you can take are vehicle focused. I normally do the takedowns because it's fun destroying someone else's vehicle. At times they even explode. I could talk about the vehicle jobs where you're acting as a getaway driver, boosting other cars, or time trials, but the takedowns are actually the most interesting and what I feel had the most amount of work put into them, and it's all about attention to detail. You can ram into someone from behind, but because the front and rear of a car tends to be the strongest part, you also take damage from it, unless you ram into the back of a van, at which case you take all the damage and they just drive off like it was nothing. However, sideswiping someone means not only being able to hit the weaker parts of their car, but also hitting the wheels. Every car has a health bar. If you damage the wheels enough, they instantly get taken out, and it's pretty satisfying because this leads to them flipping over. There's not much else to it, it just feels fun to do, and honestly that's good enough. Another nice bit of detail is when you ram into the back of an already damaged rear end, sometimes they explode and you might be wondering how. The fuel tank is there. Plus when you think about it, the rear end of a car versus the big block V8 in Samson's Camaro, there's only one winner in this. I've mentioned jobs a few times, but I haven't actually talked about how they work. Each job you can take has a number. This is how many action points are used up from completing it. You get 2 action points per time of day, and some jobs are only available during specific times. The number of times I've made my way to one of them only for it to say come back at evening and having to do a job that pays less just to pass the time is a bit embarrassing. After a few days have passed, you get a passive bonus applied to you in the form of a perk, and this can affect what job you want to take. Some of the perks you get could give you more damage in a fist fight or vehicle damage, other times it could mean the amount of boost used by your car is decreased, allowing for more use before having to refill. Some give you more money based on the type of job it is, so it leads to you planning your day, which could lead to the story taking a backseat, as sometimes you want to make sure you have enough to pay the debt for the day, and the story missions barely pay anything. You really have to balance things out, otherwise things will spiral out of control with the debt, but at the same time, it's not difficult. There were times when I basically had over $4,000 available to me after the debt was paid. There are also collectibles in the game, although these aren't actually collect X of this, apart from magazines. You have points of interest, sandwich boards to destroy, and an item called Whisper Hint. The magazines are to help with adrenaline buildup and damage for both Samson and his car. There are 2 different kinds to pick up. The sandwich boards unlock another boost canister for Samson's car, and the points of interest permanently add an extra action point to the day. Thankfully, you don't need to get all the collectibles, but they have milestones you need to reach to get their bonuses. Whisper Hints are different, however. These are items that are sometimes dropped by enemies, and are only available for that day. You get an icon showing on the map of a skull in a box. This is the location of a stash of White Whisper, the drug that's taking Tindlestone by storm and why almost every NPC that isn't a thug is a junkie. They are somewhat hidden, but not too difficult to find if I'm honest, and they provide a bonus too. Destroying the stash gives you $1,000, but also an extra action point that can be used for that day, which can be very beneficial. There are chase sequences too, but at the same time with how they're handled, it's almost pointless to talk about it. Just get out of range and let the timer pass. It would be nice to see this get expanded on, like having areas of the map you could hide to avoid the police or gang members that were chasing you. There's a button you can press to turn off the engine, so sound can be another factor to help with this. You could park your car at a gas station, turn off the engine so the police drive past. It's just a thought, but chases being outrun them and let the timer pass is kinda boring. It's made even worse when after you've removed the wanted status, driving up to a police car or the gang's cars doesn't reinitiate the chase, they just completely forget about you. At first I was worried I wasn't going to like Samson because of all the small issues it has. This is a game which is more about attention to detail and vibes than it is anything fast paced or outrageous like GTA. Again, I don't understand why the comparisons were made. Something that bothered me was how every time I go into the car, not only do I have to wait for Samson to make sure he's in the driver's seat, but also turn on the car. And even then I have to wait a second before the wheels spin. This isn't much of an issue most of the time, but there were a couple times when I needed to get into the car and drive away quickly, because what I found out is that you can be pulled out of the car by the police and instantly get busted. Not even a chance to fight them off, or just instantly fail the mission I'm on. The combat could do with a bit more polish. I get what they were going for, but the issue is most of the brawling was light attack spamming and finishing off with a heavy. The parry mechanic is inconsistent and doesn't feel too rewarding even when it does connect. The fact you get ganged up on as well leads to this feeling horrible, and your best bet is spamming dodge instead. There is an indicator to show you if someone's about to hit you, but this is a small red triangle that's at an angle, so it can be easy to miss. If it was something similar to the Arkham games, I feel the combat would be a lot more fun. I would highly recommend you get the FOV slider to 90 or max it out, as this will help a lot for combat and seeing what's around you. The driving took a bit of time to get used to. I want to say it's a skill issue on my part, but something I noticed that bothered me is the side slam that you can do. Sometimes it goes for the car you want to hit, other times it wants to go for a random bystander or a car that's minding its own business. Better tracking or a lock-on would help making your attacks more consistent for the intended targets, and I don't mean a focus lock-on where the camera is glued to them, just one that tells your character who you want to hit. The jobs are a little samey. Well, a lot of them are. There are variants, but most of the time you will be beating on a group of guys or chasing cars to destroy them. There could be more that's offered to the player. Most of these problems are small issues that can be overcome. There are some glitches that can occur. I had a couple jobs I had to abandon because the NPC who was supposed to spawn never did. Not game breaking, but very annoying as this wasted time. I actually enjoyed Samson. When I started playing it more for the atmosphere instead of selecting jobs and doing them quickly, the fun did start to show itself. This is definitely a game you're supposed to vibe with instead of doing a checklist or go from mission to mission. It doesn't take too long to finish the game, but I'm hoping there will be future support for it through updates or DLC. At the time of writing, the devs have released a roadmap for updates, but nothing yet about additional content. As always, if you made it to the end of the video, I want to say thank you. It really means a lot to me, and if you liked the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing. If you have any suggestions on what games I should make a video on or what to improve, let me know. I read all the comments I get.